This tug of war is a long game. Focus and plant your tree. So you're gonna draw lines to each one. Hello everyone, Bridget here and welcome back to my channel. If you are new, we talk about writing here. We talk about all things storytelling and it is a lot of fun. So today we are going into theme and we're going to talk about how you can build it into your story, how you can fold it in. I'm doing this a little quick because I did accidentally delete the beginning of this video. Oopsies. Anyway, let's get going. Theme is something quite elusive. It is something that people talk about a lot, but often it is mixed up with morals, it's mixed up with simply the focus of your story, which yes it is, but it is something way more specific. Theme, overall, is the question you're posing to your audience and your main character. It is the big looming question that they struggle with throughout the whole of the story. In this video, we are going to look at how you can choose your theme, how you can create your characters around your theme, and how to build your plot around it. So, let's move into part one, choosing your theme. Now I want you to envision your theme as the trunk of a tree. This tree is your story. The whole tree is your story. Now, it is possible to find like a branch of your story. Maybe you're starting with a branch, maybe you're starting with characters. But this is one aspect. It's kind of like you find this branch and then you're trying to stick it onto a tree, which the analogy kind of falls apart there. So I'm not saying that you need to have a theme right out of the gate, but rewinding a little bit and reforming can help that tree grow. Having a focused theme, having this trunk, aka having a focused theme, is how your story goes from a disjointed, jumbled collection of scenes into a focused, poignant story. Maybe you have several messages you want to talk about. So you have like a branch over here, you have like one over here, you have one over here, you have a bunch of things going on. I need you to take a deep breath and put some of those aside. You cannot use all of them at once. It is simply not possible. I know it's kind of annoying to hear because you have all these great ideas, but save those for another time. Right now, I want you to hone in on one. Take this one question, this one focus, and plant your tree. That trunk of your tree is going to sprout up because it knows what it's doing. Your theme needs to be hyper-focused. Now for this part, I want to use the example of the movie Hot Fuzz by Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg. If you don't know, if you never watched Hot Fuzz, highly recommend it. But if you don't know what it's about, it is about the police officer, Nicholas Angel, who gets moved from London to a small town in the countryside. And the whole story is about him struggling with basically work-life balance and how to switch off from his job. And moving from London to Sanford, a small town, is what does this, basically. The big question of the story is, can Nicholas find happiness in his relationships and be able to switch off from work? Now through this story, he really clashes with everyone in the town. Especially at the beginning, they're all very chill and he doesn't know what to do with that. As a result, just keeps going at the pace that he was in London. So in this case, the theme is, can he switch off his work brain and enjoy his time in Sanford? And this is especially, we're gonna get into the characters later, so I'm gonna put a pin in that for now. That is the theme that we are working with in Hot Fuzz. This is a very focused theme, and it's a very character-focused theme. It really puts everything on Nicholas as an individual character. He does go back and forth questioning if he can switch off throughout the course of the story, as he is clashing with the people around him, especially Danny. That is the whole idea. That is the whole idea. So it works. This is not to say that there aren't other themes. There are themes of like cult, I guess, cult themes. There's the theme of the city versus the country, but these are much more secondary themes. They don't drive the plot. The main theme is the idea, the question that drives everything. It is what our main character is debating. Main character, main characters, you can have either. If there's two, in my story right now, I do have two main characters because this is a romance. So we have the central couple and everything around them, all the supporting characters, the antagonist, everyone is having some stance on the theme. And that is what builds the story. Your main theme is what your main character is struggling with through the story. That is the main takeaway of this section. Just to put it in like big neon sign, that is takeaway. Yes, so when you are looking at your main character in your story, what are they learning? And how is the rest of the world influencing this? How is it pushing them in one way or the other? And this leads us on to part 2, character building. Now that you have your theme, you need to choose your characters wisely. Most likely, you do have your main character already. But if you don't, you might want to make your main character. And from this, I'm going to assume that you already have your main character. So come back to this if you don't. Like, watch this video, come back to this section, and then watch the rest. So you have your main character, and they're like, we're gonna put them right in the center of this diagram with the theme right under them. They are in the middle. In most cases, your character is the one that is trying to decide which way to go. They are at a crossroads. So you have your main character in the middle, and one of the things that I found very useful, especially when creating dynamic character dynamics, is to create, it's a character web. And this is when you get to map out the stance that all your different characters have in regards to the theme, the thematic question. So you have your main character in the middle, and you have, we're gonna say we have 4 supporting characters. This includes antagonists. So you have your theme in the middle, and then you have a square around them. At each corner, you're gonna have another character. We have the antagonist on one side, and we have supporting characters on the other. On one side, you have the negative viewpoint. They're saying, no, you can't do that. That's not allowed. And on the other side, you have the supporting characters who are encouraging your main character. And as you go up the square, in the other corners, we are putting the antagonist and the main supporting characters at the bottom. They are the anchors. And then as you move up and you go into the top corners, these are the side characters. These are the ones that maybe don't appear as much, and they are the ones that say, maybe. They are not quite as adamant about everything. They show up every once in a while, and they do have views, but maybe they have more malleable views, and maybe they have more of a character arc of their own. They are the ones that show the possibilities. They are really the ones that could be cautionary tales. They could also be symbolic. All these characters can be symbolic, and I would encourage you to make them symbolic. This is something that I love to do with my characters, and something that I find very useful in the writing process is to give these characters symbolism when it comes to where they stand in regards to the theme. Now, once you have all of these in place, you can really start the game of tug of war, because each side has such passionate views. This is when we're talking about the supporting character and the antagonist. They have very strong views on what the protagonist should decide, and they might not voice them. The antagonist will most likely be the one to voice their opinions, whereas the supporting character is much more coaxing in a way of like, you should really do this. Like, it's much more comforting. And they have this kind of back and forth as they're trying to get the protagonist on their side. These two characters on either side might not ever meet, but there always is that tension being pulled, and they're going in different directions. It's the dynamics of the story that make it interesting. This tug of war is a long game, especially if you're writing something very long. The antagonist on this side might be replaced. You might also replace other characters throughout your story, but the opposing force and the supporting force always have this tension. They always have this pull at each other that until the protagonist makes a decision, they're gonna keep going. There's still gonna be this pull from either side. Now we are moving on to part 3, and that is forming your plot. Now that you have your character map, it becomes a lot easier to form your plot, because you have these characters. You have the character map, you know the dynamics, and you can really move into detailing this whole game of tug of war. What are the relationships between all these characters? Now, when I was talking about the square, I did forget to mention that all of these characters connect to the main character. So you're gonna draw lines to each one, detail their relationship with each other. This is when you get to detail every single pull of the tug of war. Who is pulling more in this occasion? What are they saying to cause this tension? When I implemented this with my current story, I gotta tell you, the change in the writing process was insane. The whole story became so much more focused. This bird really wants to interject. The whole story became so much more focused, and every character had their own viewpoints. It felt so much more, I try not to say focused again, but it did. Your story can feel very scattered. It is all over the place. You don't really know what you're trying to say. And until you give every single character their own role in the thematic story, it's so easy to feel disjointed and unfocused. With all these things in place, you know where the tension is, and everything simply starts to fall into place. It really makes the writing process flow, because everything is laid out in front of you. All the characters know what they are fighting for and what they're fighting against. So the interactions between the characters feel much more natural. And yes, it does feel kind of strange to focus so much on one section of their lives. Maybe it does feel odd because you're not exploring them in quite the same way, but that's what it takes. That is what makes a book, a story, a movie, a TV show so much more interesting, because it is looking at something so intently. Now let's go back to Hot Fuzz for a quick minute. The plot of Hot Fuzz is all guided by the theme. When we look at how the plot is formed to express the theme, it is quite simple. It all starts from the inciting incident, when Nicholas is sent to Sandringham. Right? Sandringham? That's not the word. When he's sent to the small town. I keep forgetting the name. The theme guides the plot and all the characters around him, because he is literally forced to slow down. This small town is not London. This is not the same place that he was before. And we see this even more later on when Nicholas literally fights for the town. Granted, he does like really injure a lot of people in the town, but that's beside the point. He does fight for the town he was once reluctant to be in. This is not only like the resolution of the film, but it's also the resolution of the theme. Especially when his bosses from London come back and he declines to go back. He has decided to stay in the small town, and that's the resolution of the whole film. He has learned how to switch off. More or less. He's still working away, but we get the idea that he knows that there is a work-life balance. When you're building your theme, there's no room for one-word themes. Pose a question that your character and your audience are going to journey through the story. They're gonna debate it. They're gonna say, I don't know. Maybe the character's more than the audience. Because sometimes these questions, it's like the audience knows the answer, but the character is fighting against it pretty darn actively. This is what your characters need to struggle with in order to get what they need, not what they want. So, when you're writing your story, what is a question that you want to pose to your characters? What is a thematic question you want to explore? Maybe you need to change your story to form around this question. Is there something you haven't seen? Your theme is the perfect place to dive into any topic you want to cover. This specific question is so important, and it is so much fun to dive into. That is it for me for this video. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know down in the comments what story you're working on, if there's any videos you want me to cover, if you have any questions about writing and all that fun stuff. And I will see you guys next week with another video. Bye! Happy writing!